January 13th, 2025 Planning Board meeting of the City of Panhandle City is now in order. Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Here.
Board Member Stamps.
Here.
Board Member Barker.
Here.
Board Member Rich.
Here.
Chairman Newbauer.
Here. Are there any changes or additions to the deletions to the agenda?
Nope, we don't have any changes or deletions this evening.
Are there any announcements or disclosures from board members? You should have seen the minutes for the December 9th, 2024 planning board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
All please.
Second.
Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes. Now I'm going to read the process for quasi judicial proceedings. Following is the procedure which the board will follow during quasi judicial hearings. Public hearing announced, introduction of application by staff, ex parte communication disclosure by board members, identification of the applicant and affected parties that intend to participate in the hearing. Affected parties that only intend to make a statement may do so at the public participation part of the agenda. An affected party means any person or entity that will suffer an adverse effect to an interest protected or furthered by the ULDC, including interests related to health and safety, police and fire protection, service systems, densities or intensities of development, transportation facilities, healthcare facilities, equipment or services, and environmental or natural resources. The alleged adverse interest may be shared in common with other members of the committee at large, but must exceed in degree the general interest in community good shared by all persons. Turn it over to council to swear any witnesses that wish to speak.
The first two items on our agenda today, items A and B, are both quasi-judicial. So if you're here to speak on either one of those, if you'd stand now, if you plan to speak on, if you stand now and raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. That it? We solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll give on these matters will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes. Great. When you come to the microphone to speak, if you would just state your name and address for the record and that you have been sworn, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Start with request one, Orlando.
Request one, case number MDEV 2510 is a request for major development. The owner is Palo Alto Capital LLC. The applicant is Panhandle Engineering Inc. And it is located at North Palo Alto Avenue and East 24th Plaza. And they are requesting to develop a 4-story hotel.
Any question from staff or any question for the board for your staff?
So this hotel is allowed in GC2, just a major development order.
Correct, yeah, because
Yep.
they're exceeding the 3 stories.
Yep.
Does the applicant here wish to speak on this item?
Happy New Year. I'm Jim Slonina, Panhandle Engineering, representing the applicant. And as you've heard from Orlando and Juwan, we're here primarily because it's 4 stories, and 4 stories or greater requires some review by the Planning Commission. We appreciate your attention. It's in an area that's zoned correctly, and as in the recommended staff findings, there's a dozen different development order attributes that have to be proven before the development order will be authorized. Your consideration allows us to show that what's being proposed out there is not adverse to the vertical conditions that were out there. So I'll be glad to answer any questions. It's a 99 key home to suites, which is a Hilton flag. It's right next to Marriott, right next to the stormwater pond with Target. Maybe recreational fishing might be a sidebar. But in either case, that's where we're here, and we're glad to be contributing to Panama City. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Slonina, you were sworn in.
Yes, I was. Thank you, Mike.
Any questions for the applicant? No. Hopefully we don't have to have you back up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Is anyone else here from the audience to speak on this item? All right. Seeing.
You got it.
Ma'am,
Go ahead.
you want to?
Come, go ahead. Come up.
I guess 840 on that house.
You need to come to the microphone, please.
I don't know if I have to give her the address.
Okay, so I guess the question is for you. Could you tell us a timeline on that?
Ma'am, could you state your name and address for the record,
I'm
please?
sorry.
Thank you.
Milena Perno.
And Ms. Purnell, were you sworn in a moment ago?
No, sir,
Do
sorry.
you swear that everything you're about to say is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, Milena Perno, 828 West 24th Plaza. My mother currently resides on that property, and I was curious as to a timeline for your proposal of the development.
Let him answer. If you have any other questions, I can answer them.
Yeah, is that the only question you have? What we'll do is we'll get your any questions of anyone else from the audience, and then he'll give a chance to answer any questions.
Okay, first and foremost, yeah, the timeline because of alternate housing. Is there any other questions, Tom?
What was the address?
828
Oh,
West
okay, so it's part of
24th
the
Plaza. So yeah, I was wondering about the timeline and I mean, I don't know who I could go to speak as to when she becomes displaced. Like, is there certain laws and so forth? I mean, I'm not sure what to ask.
Well, the applicant could probably answer those questions, so,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this side? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Jim Slonina. Melina, thanks for the question. I'm assuming your mom is a tenant in one of the rentals. As you probably noticed from your application, there's a half a dozen homes, rentals, that are all going to go away because of this. It's a GC2. So the answer is, to answer your question, 6 months to a year before ground is broken. And I would assume that would be the timeline for which opportunity to relocate would be provided. We've just received the surveys. We have not done any design. This was like a prerequisite threshold for us to make sure we had planning commission approval. We have had a pre-application with staff, both engineering and planning. So we've done our due diligence that way. But I'm just knowing how everything works, I would say probably 6 months. And I will pass that on to my clients, okay? So that there's appropriate notice given and things can be done.
Thank you.
Yeah, nobody is.
I do have a question.
All right, please come up to the microphone and state your.
Can she make it to the microphone, or we need to bring it to her?
You can bring the.
Let's bring it to her.
Can you grab the mic?
Yeah, Jim, handle the microphone, please. Yeah, thank you.
Just
Like I'm
so it
working
gets
for
recorded.
these.
So.
Yeah.
You have to say who you are.
I'm Carol Steffener, and I live at 828 East 24th Plaza. I've lived in that community for the last 10 years. And the question is, I have a house that is falling down on top of me, and I cannot get anybody to do anything for that house. The ramp is falling down, and I need a ramp to get in my front door. Am I,
Say what you want.
who do I call to get the repairs done? I've got a ceiling fan coming down on top of me. I don't know who to get a hold of to get it fixed so that it is kind of livable.
Ms. Perno,
I-
when we're done here, if you want to wait
Okay,
around for a few minutes, I can.
I know this is a lot of your realm,
Well, no, and Jawan was ready to address this as well.
but I think the answer is I'd like to pass that on to the owners, that the appropriate amount of due diligence and sympathy and timeline should be applied, and I'll be glad to share that with them, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and staff is willing to get with her afterwards, see if we can get some additional information from her, and maybe provide her with resources.
Okay. So did you hear that too? The staff's going to get with you afterwards too to provide any resources they can from their end. Thank you. Is anyone else here to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
A motion second, please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll,
Yes.
Board Member Stamps,
Yes.
Board Member Barker,
Yes.
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Item B.
Item B is case number MDEV 2511. It is another request for a major development. The City of Panama City issued a development order to the Panama City Port Authority in December of 2021 for the development of a distribution warehouse and an office, maintenance areas, parking, and landscaping within the port's multimodal distribution center campus. The applicant is now requesting to make railroad liquid transloading operational improvements, including the development of a rail line, utility improvements and connections, truck wash pad and wash water disposal, truck scale and weigh station, concrete pad for modular building, and stormwater mitigation improvements. The owner is the Panama City Port Authority. The applicant is Millard Hayes. The parcel is located at 8110 Commerce Boulevard. It is approximately 360 acres, and it is being heard for a major development because it is zoned heavy industrial.
Thank you. Any questions for the board from staff? Is anybody in the audience here to speak on this item? Or the applicant here wish to address? Okay.
You were sworn in earlier? Promise to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. It's my first appearance in front of the planning board, so thank you all for your time and your patience. My name is Alex King. I'm with the Panama City Port Authority, and be glad to speak or answer any questions that you may have on this project. I can give a little brief update as this is part of a master plan development for the port with the Intermodal Distribution Center. And this is part of a kind of a phase 2 improvement to the bulk transfer facility that we have. We do have current business ongoing up there. And it's a nice facility. I call it first class. It's got rail going into it. We're actually not going to add any rail capacity to it, but we are going to add truck scales in because of the cargo that we are currently moving through it. We need to weigh the trucks. And then this is a kind of a matching grant that we have to develop these capabilities because it is part of our mission of the port to be able to attract new cargo opportunities. And so we're looking at like food grade, liquid sugar transloads going in and out of Mexico, things like that we move through the port to be done here versus out of state and brought in. So long term, it creates additional port capacity, improves our export activity, and creates more jobs here in Bay County.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on this from the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll,
Yes.
Board Member Stamps,
Yes.
Board Member Barker,
Yes. I'm sorry.
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Item C.
Oh, yeah.
The panelist, Joanne.
Yes, I'll be presenting this item this afternoon. So item C is an amendment to Unified Land Development Code regarding boat and RV storage in residential areas. So as you all recall, this item did come before you back in December. There was some discussion and staff was directed to go back and address a couple of things and then come back before you this meeting. And as we stated in the staff report, what is highlighted in yellow, we believe should address all of your issues. But of course, if there's any additional comments or something that we may have missed, please let us know. What was highlighted and what was discussed, we talked about location of the RV, of the recreational vehicles and boats. So you see there was a highlight with making sure that these, the RVs and boats are placed on concrete or asphalt. So I think the goal there, as we discussed, is that we don't want them all over the yards. So making sure they're in a particular place and create some consistency there. Of course, not having more than one recreational equipment vehicle in the front or side yards. Not permitting any recreational equipment used for commercial purposes. That was a major one, ensuring that, we don't have RV and boat, basically lots in the middle of residential areas was a concern. And of course, you all wanted some additional clarification and defining the site visibility triangle there. So we believe that we were able to address all of your concerns. But if you have any questions, I am available. And if there's anything else we need to address, please let us know.
Sure.
Thank you.
Jawan, was there any consideration to gravel in addition to concrete and asphalt? Just based on the property? I didn't know what other municipalities were doing in regards to that.
So our code, there are several approved paving systems. Gravel is not one of them. So that's why when we have any changes to our codes regarding any parking areas or vehicular staging areas, we leave out gravel typically. So of course, if is there any that, parking and loading, if you look at our code, there's a certain set of paving systems. And so typically with gravel,
Are paver stones part of that as well? Yes.
I used to see in like Bahama Rock.
I don't say.
That's, just, it's a type of gravel, but it's.
Well, we think of typically when we're talking about your residential areas, we are talking about, it's a typical driveway. Most of the development orders that we are getting, and member staff, we're also considering what's been happening within the past several years. Most people are requesting paved driveways that are connected to our right of way. So at least since I've been here, I don't know if we've ever received a request for a gravel driveway. Of course, if there's some insight that anyone can provide on the board, I'm more than happy to
Well, it
hear.
helps with the impervious surface. I mean, it may be the curb cutout is asphalt or concrete, but if you're kind of up against the impervious surfaces, the gravel or the Bahama Rock, which is
I would
nicer than that, in my opinion. So.
I would think gravel, even though it's maybe not a driveway, which is fine, but it is. But a lot of people use gravel because of pervious area, because of the requirements of what you have as far as pervious area in
Right.
your house.
Right.
I mean, how would we go about looking at changing that for
So,
adding gravel?
so we can get into, this is something that this is a conversation we have often for commercial and non-commercial development. Our code, basically, so in my experience and also here, typically your gravel packs down over time. So what happens is that you do see water start to pool and you end up needing some type of stormwater mitigation anyways. So of course I'm not an engineer, but I'm just repeating what I've heard in rooms over and over and over again. And I'm more than happy to get you guys some more technical information as to why our code looks at gravel the way it does. But as far as we're concerned in our jurisdiction, we have specific paving systems, and a lot of people want to use gravel. It's very popular, but the code does not allow it. So again, if we are going to update the code in any way, shape, or form, we don't want to undermine what's already been adopted. That's the goal. But I'm happy to get you a bit more technical information on kind of our approach to gravel and why it is typically viewed as an impervious.
So if we called it paving systems,
Accepted, that's what my thoughts were, accepted paving systems per the LBC.
yeah, and then if it needs to get changed, then it could get changed in that notation
Yeah.
versus here.
So we're not
right?
having that conversation. Yeah.
Right.
An approved. So are we saying a paving system or an approved paving system?
Approved paving system.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that is something that that language. So we want that language. Was that subpart B, subsection 2? So change that to approved paving system.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, if you drive around the city of Panama City, you'll see many.
Oh, absolutely.
driveways with gravel.
Absolutely.
And that is their driveway, and
Well, and then it's not defined in two different places too. It's defined in one
Yeah,
place, and we reference that one place that way.
And so maybe that's the approach. And of course, we're not going around telling people to undo their driveways, but it's just if we're going to update the code, that is the reason for why we use the language that we use. So yeah, if it's the will of this board to utilize, approved paving system, I think that will work.
Okay.
I also have a question about 4, so B1-4, because we're saying the front yard except the required visibility triangle. However, it doesn't read itself in a way that all of these need to be required. So therefore, you're either in a carport or a garage, or you're on a concrete or asphalt driveway, or you're in the front yard with the exception of the visibility triangle.
Maybe parked or stored in.
Well, I think that the front yard piece.
Oh, I see.
I just think needs to not. It just needs to say not park or not in the visibility triangle, but I think the use of the word front yard.
I got you. Okay.
Should
Well, I got a question.
should obviously be part of one.
Yeah, or any visibility triangle. When you have back or side yards, that could be part of a visibility triangle, especially if you have an alley.
But are we taking into consideration that a lot of our city are townhouses and they can't get to their backyard? So, that's why I seen that B1, 2, I believe, 2.
They're only allowing one wood in the front yard, and they're allowed one vehicle in the front yard. So if you're in a townhouse, then
Well, but it was saying parking or storage of major recreation equipment. I'm looking at B now.
Okay.
A residential premises shall be allowed, subject to the following condition: the driveway of the owner's residence, but not in a portion of public right of way. So if I got a townhouse and I got a driveway, I can put my vehicle there in the driveway, right? That's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's correct.
Because a lot of people do live in townhouses.
Well, yeah, you can put it in your driveway. I think some of this, and it's redundant in the ordinance for a reason, is to prevent essentially the cluttering up of our right of ways. So to making it clear, it's like, yeah, you can have it in your driveway, but parking, having a bunch of large, recreational vehicles on the side of the road could be problematic for, emergency safety vehicles, for site visibility as people are driving down the road. So it's just being mindful of that as well.
any other questions from the board, from staff? All right. Does anybody from the audience wish to speak on this item?
Good afternoon. Eric Wimberly, 2925 Briarcliff. I have a question on the visibility triangle. That leaves interpretation to whoever's going to be enforcing that. Because back again, this whole thing come because on my complaint, my daughter cannot ride past an RV on her bicycle because it's at the sidewalk. It's not in the sidewalk, but it's at the sidewalk. Is there any way to define that visibility triangle for somebody backing out, that they have to be able to be seen? Because the wording kind of sounds like it's there to protect them, but that's going to leave a lot of interpretation to code enforcement or whoever's enforcing this. The other is paver driveways. Is that what we're talking about, concrete? Or
No, so there is a definition of visibility triangle, which we can read to you in a moment. But as far as driveway paving systems, this basically said concrete, asphalt, pavers is an acceptable one. What this board seems to be recommending to the commission is to address it to acceptable paving surfaces that are in the other part of the ULDC.
And one other thing is the setback on the driveway side. Can it be permitted driveways, approved driveways? Because what's the setback for a driveway? The setback in the backyard is 3. Setback for a driveway is either 5 or 3.
So I was thinking it was 4 feet for some reason, but I'm not.
That's
in R1, but only because I did a driveway a couple of years ago.
I haven't been in driveway. That's one of those things because I know several driveways aren't either permitted or they're on property lines, that type of thing. So as long as
it's on city property, right?
I'm sorry. So how we typically, when we review for driveways, we usually say at least 3 feet from the property line. So the edge of the driveway to the property line, 3 feet. So that's how we typically, during our review.
That's where this code would be falling into for the driveway. So we would have to be in between the 15 foot and 3 feet. Because according to this new right is within 15 foot of the property line, but we can't be within.
No,
Is that my understanding there?
The 3 feet, I'm not sure if it falls to the setback, the 15 feet. Or
Well, the
setback, the visibility triangle could be smaller than the 15 feet.
yeah. So the 3 feet that I'm referring to, and I hope I'm addressing your question when I clarify this. So, board members, when we are reviewing, let's say, a new single-family home, and they're having a driveway, so you have a driveway. Imagine it jutting, coming from the front porch, the front of the house, going out to the street. There's typically space on the side of the driveway. So we're just saying, neighbors.
Feet off the neighbors.
Yeah, make sure you have 3 feet. So from the edge of your pavement to the property line. That's what we're referring to when we talk about that 3 feet. Just so you're clear.
Okay, so that's
That's
what
what we're
a
discussing.
permitted driveway would be. If you were
Correct.
issuing permits.
And we recognize that maybe a lot of people do not have that in the
Correct.
city, but that is how we typically look at it. And that also comes from where we get that 3 feet from is we're trying to provide some type of consistency with even how we view accessory structures. So we say, okay, if our code has certain setbacks for accessory structures, so that's where we pulled that 3 feet from.
Okay, perfect. And the triangle, do we have a definition of the triangle?
Yes.
Or I was looking
So-
through there. Was it on the?
Yes, it's in the back, it's on it, so it's highlighted and I can read it. So what we currently have, what we're proposing is visibility triangle, a designated area located near streets and or driveway intersections that shall be free from visual obstruction in order to maintain safe visibility for vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians. Site visibility triangles shall be provided on all corners at the intersection of any public or private street with another street, an alleyway or driveway, and on all corners of the intersection of an alley and driveway. So that's what we're currently proposing. That's our definition.
My issue with that is it's up to interpretation of whoever is making a complaint or the interpretation of enforcement.
So the interpreter of the Unified Land Development Code is the Development Services Director. That is up to his interpretation.
Okay, so if we
Correct.
had a complaint, that's who that would go
Ultimately, yes. So our directive, so whenever there is an interpretation issue in our code, that is ultimately who has the final say as far as our code's concerned. So if there's any discrepancies or there's confusion, he's the interpreter.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Reynolds, 2921 Briarcliff Road. The setback he's referring to is for the building structure, not for a concrete driveway. The concrete driveway is allowed you can put right on the property line, can't cross the property line, but in order to do a structure, it has to be a 3-foot setback.
City of Panama City, go ahead.
So this is what I was explaining to him earlier, how we have provided, because we were getting this question a lot within the past, 2.5 years. That's when it really started to come up because there's so much building coming on. So people were asking, what is the setback from those side property lines to the driveway? So what we did is that we utilized what was already adopted in our codes for the accessory, what you're referring to. It's that 3-foot setback. And so we applied it to the driveway. Now the building setbacks, typically, if we're talking about R1, and that just recently changed, so the setbacks, what now is 5 feet, 15 and 20 in the rear. So that was recently updated. It used to be a little bit more. But yes, the building setback, the actual and how we define building setback is from the vertical plane of the structure to the property line.
Okay.
So yes, the building setback and that driveway setback, there's going to be some difference there.
Okay. And as he was explaining, let's discuss the visibility.
Correct.
Is the visibility to be able to see down your sidewalk from your living room, or not interfering with the traffic on the sidewalk, whether it be people, bicycles, or whatever?
So the goal typically of any visibility triangle is really to try to minimize or mitigate or even eliminate some type of conflict with along the roadway. So that's why when we talk about visibility triangles, and particularly in this definition, it's mostly oriented and it discusses streets. So like a designated area located near a street and or driveway. So that's the focus of it, is to try to prevent any conflict or any issues near the driveway or along the street. So when, let's say when we're talking about the corner, like a corner lot, preventing like a structure or something coming out when or a vehicle impeding your view while you're trying to make a left or right turn or something like that. That's when we talk about a site visibility triangle. It's trying to make sure that when you have people driving down a road or riding their bicycle or whatever, that we create enough space and we create enough visibility to prevent any potential issues. So that is the goal. It's focused on the driveway and the road.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more question on that. Eric Wimberly, visibility triangle. Sidewalks aren't part of that because pedestrians, bicyclists are on sidewalks. You just said it only talked
The
road.
visibility triangle, I think may not cover this here, but you can speak to it better. I can.
Yeah.
They can't park an RV or boat over the sidewalk, right?
Not over the sidewalk, but even if it's at the sidewalk, it's still blocking visibility from people jogging, riding bicycles down the sidewalk.
But let me clarify, because I said roadway and street, but sidewalks, it does in the definition, it says that shall be free from visual obstruction in order to maintain safe visibility of vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians.
So sidewalks are.
So site visibility. So when we're talking about roadways and street, I mean, typically we're encompassing all of that. But that goes back to the main part of the ordinance earlier, is to, it doesn't get into this in the definition, but when you look at the ordinance as a whole, it really comes together. That's why you don't want these vehicles in your right of way, because that helps contribute, right, to ensuring that your site visibility is clear. Okay? Mm-hmm.
Anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
And I'm sorry, I want to make sure that I'm clear on the language change. So what I have in my notes is for subsection, for one, subsection B, part 2, the approved paving systems driveway of the owner's residence, but not any portion of any public right of way. Is that what we
Yes.
want? Is there anything else that I missed? I think that was the.
Whoever wants to make the motion can probably restate
Okay.
this for the-
I want to make sure.
For the record.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we.
That's what that
change
does.
the verbiage to what she just said.
the only other edit, I think the use of the front yard.
Oh, that's
on-
right. That's
on 4,
Yeah,
which is
section
B14.
Should be a part of actual B.
You can't park in the visibility triangle, so however that gets reworded, the use of the front yard does not
me to-
appear
give me
needed,
to
being
make that
that
into a
we're
motion?
defining it as the concrete.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we change B12 to have approved paving systems as opposed to concrete or asphalt. And then in section B14, that we remove the reference to front yard and just have it reference the visibility triangle, and make a motion for that.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right. Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Anyone here too that will go to the city of Panama City for its first reading on February 11th, the second reading on February 25th. Now, this is the audience participation portion of the agenda. Does anybody in the audience wish to address the board? Please come to the microphone, state your name.
My name is Jonathan Robbins. I'm at 1206 East 3rd Street. I thought that I was supposed to be on the thing for my variance request today. The sign in my yard says January 13th at 4 o'clock.
I was under the impression code compliance would talk to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was told by Michael that code compliance was going to be talking to you about it having to come to our February meeting. Was that not what you were told?
No, ma'am.
We'll get with you after this.
I mean, everything, well, there's a stop work placed on what I got going, and I mean, it's already been delayed since, I guess, right after Thanksgiving. I've been building up to this moment, and so what recourse, I mean, is just like, oops.
So the recourse would be we'll get with you to make sure that you have everything that you need in order to be on the next meeting's agenda. So that's the first step, making sure that there is a complete application. And so we can work with you on that. And then the next step is to get on the February agenda. So that's your remedy.
Okay, so the stop work is in place on the gangway, point of access to the dock. Can I get the stop work lifted or however in regards to just the dock, and then bringing power and doing everything but the gangway? Because
So
right now, my understanding is, I'm sorry, the stop work is like, hey, don't do nothing.
that's correct.
Okay, so if this issue is with the width of a gangway or a dock access point, can I not continue, my dock? I've got FPL coming out. I have to dig a ditch and get power, and I just got water, and I don't understand how all this works. This is all
Yes, and that's why after this meeting, I'm more than happy to chat with you about it, just to make sure that, because that's the first step, is that we need a complete application to go under review so we can get you on the next meeting so you can have your variance to move forward. So that's just where we are. So I can assist you with moving forward from there.
Okay, so they came out and put a sign in my yard that
Yes.
said January 13th.
Because at the time, we were under the impression that this would be able to move forward, but upon further reviewing the application, we recognized that the information needed to go before this board was not on the application. And I honestly want to apologize to you for that, because upon submittal, we should have been able to communicate that to you, but that's where we are. So we want to make sure first that the information that was submitted and the application that was submitted has all the information needed for this board to move forward with their review and recommendation, and for staff to move forward with their review and recommendation. And that's how that works, is that there are certain things that have to be submitted. There are certain questions that have to be answered, certain materials that have to be provided, and then that information is reviewed by us, staff. We process that information and have a staff report and a recommendation to this board. And then the board reviews it. And then they come and then they make a decision on whether or not to approve the variance. So in a nutshell, that's how it works. So that's our first step. We want to make sure that the information that we need, we want to make sure that you're able to provide it to us so you can make it to the February board meeting.
What information do you need? What makes it incomplete?
I can.
Action. Go ahead.
I have the email that Michael sent code that was supposed to be sent to you or relayed to you. Now I don't know what. We can get on this to see if you've seen this, and we can kind of go over the requirements. But after this, we can.
There's a list. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go through, but it's lengthy. So, but we have it in writing, and we can get it over to you.
Okay, so the sign in my yard. So is that going to be picked up and then reissued?
Correct. Yeah, and we take care of that.
Yeah, no doubt. But it kind of creates a stigma with me and my neighbors. I mean, they've already kind of put it out there. It says, hey, you're going to do this, be here at this time. Now the ball's been dropped and I'm not understanding, like, why can't we proceed right now? I mean, everyone's here.
Because you do not have a complete application and it was not, okay,
Here's the legal reason why we can't proceed right now is because none of the board members have any of the information.
There's no
They
staff
wouldn't
report.
even be able to sit here and even take in what the application is or understand what it is. It's just, unfortunately, a mistake was made. They put the sign in your yard when they shouldn't have. They should have taken it up. But they can't hear it because they don't have any evidence before them.
I assume the normal process is that sign doesn't go out until it's an approved package. normally,
It should have
right?
been. That's
Okay.
right. That's
So-
what I'm hearing is that our planning staff had notified the other department because it's a code enforcement matter.
Right.
He's going to have to come. Sounds like he's got a code enforcement issue, but he needs a variance in order to comply with your code. Code enforcement was supposed to have taken care of that side of it. It didn't happen, and unfortunately, it was a mistake. It's clearly a huge inconvenience for this gentleman and anybody else that showed up. But
Well, I'm sorry that
we
you were
can't.
inconvenienced
Yeah,
by
I
that.
can't let you
So,
hear it today.
and I just want to point out one thing. So for variances, the code requires that there are mailings like they're actual mailings, like you're supposed to get a letter in the mail. So that is also part of it. Once this was not able to move forward, we did not mail out the notices. So there's three things that are required for noticing for variances. The sign is one thing, that's one. There's a legal ad that has to be ran. And then the actual mailings. So all three of those things have to be satisfied. If all three of those things are not satisfied, the request can't move forward, not just specific to you, but anyone for that matter.
Sure.
Because those are just the rules and regulations.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, this is my first time.
Absolutely,
ever.
and so
No, I don't-
I have to say I apologize because with the holidays and everything going on, that was something that we should have taken up and we missed it. So I apologize for that.
The stop work will be relevant to the dock and the power and everything, even though the variance request is on a separate matter.
My
I think you ought to go talk with the building department and the code guys. I mean, if it's
Might be able to separate it.
yeah, they may be able to separate for you, but we're not going to have that. That's really a building issue, is what it comes down to. So recommend that you
So
speak
can
with
we
them.
have the city help him to go to those people and get to the right
Yeah,
folks?
that's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what's
And on
going
a
on.
positive note, the variances, the board has the final say, so it doesn't go on to the
Mhm.
commission after that.
Yeah.
So your February meeting will be, the decision will be made that day, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Apologies.
So anybody else wishes to address the board? All right, seeing none, the meeting's adjourned.